What if humanity could imprison a sun? This journey begins not with a bang, but with the breaking of something smaller than a speck of dust. From a mysterious black powder, humanity first learned to turn impenetrable fortresses into dust. All ultimate power, encapsulated in the most elegant and most terrifying formula.
This is not just a story of weapons. It's the story of how a single explosion of power.
In the 9th century, Taoist alchemists did not seek destruction. They sought immortality.
But in their quest for eternal life, they accidentally mixed 3 of the Earth's base elements and created a magic drug that brought not eternal life, but instantaneous fire. Initially, this power was used for celebration, to ward off spirits with light and sound.
But human ingenuity quickly realized, if you could push light into the sky, then you could also contain that fire, turning it into an unstoppable force of propulsion.
The age of swords and armor was about to end. A new era was born, defined by the roar of iron and fire. For the first time in history, destruction could be delivered from a safe distance.
Strategists realized the rules of war had changed forever.
The race began. Bigger, farther, stronger. The power of gunpowder didn't just reshape the land, it came to dominate the oceans. The power of the cannon was miniaturized, placed into the hands of the individual soldier.
Amidst the Industrial Revolution, chemists were no longer alchemists. They were architects of matter.
In 1847, Ascanio Sobrero created a sweet, yellow oil. He called it nitroglycerin. But this oil carried a terrible rage. It needed no fire, no fuse. A mere shock was enough to unleash its power.
It was too powerful, too unstable.
But one man, Alfred Nobel, saw its potential not just for destruction, but for creation.
He realized the problem wasn't to weaken the power, but to tame it.
By giving the beast a cage, he turned it into a tool. He called it dynamite.
Destructive power could be controlled, directed by will.
A new era of construction began, fueled by the power of controlled destruction. Mountains were moved. Rivers were rerouted. The face of the planet was reshaped.
But the military arms race continued. Nations needed something more stable, more powerful than dynamite. They found it in TNT.
Destruction was once again elevated to a new level, delivered from the heavens.
TNT became the standard measure for explosive power, a unit of measurement for destruction.
Humanity had reached the pinnacle of chemical explosives. But another revolution was quietly unfolding.
A revolution not in molecules, but deep within the very nucleus of matter.
It held a terrible and magnificent secret, that matter and energy are 2 sides of the same coin.
Physicists realized that some heavy elements, like uranium, possessed nuclei that were ready to break.
The key wasn't in one break. It was in a chain reaction, a nuclear blizzard multiplying itself in a millionth of a second. July 16, 1945. Humanity stood on the threshold of unleashing this power for the first time.
In that moment, the world held its breath. false dawn, created by human hands. A new icon of power was seared into history. And then, the true fury arrived. Not a bang, but the roar of the planet itself being torn apart. The power tested in the desert was soon unleashed upon cities. We cannot describe the event, only visualize the scale of the energy released.
The power of 15,000 tons of TNT, released from a bomb weighing only a few tons. Everything humanity knew about chemical explosives became obsolete in a single moment. But the race was not over. Scientists looked to the stars and wondered, could we recreate the forge of the cosmos here on Earth?
The answer was yes. By using a nuclear explosion to trigger an explosion thousands of times larger.
It is called thermonuclear fusion, the unleashed power of the stars themselves. On October 30th, 1961, the Soviet Union tested this device.
It was not a bomb. It was a man-made geological event.
Its flash could be seen from a quarter of the way to the North Pole.
Its shockwave was so powerful, it was able to circle the entire Earth not once.
Its cloud rose 64 kilometers high, punching through the troposphere and deep into the stratosphere.
Its power was equivalent to 50 million tons of TNT.
4 eras. 4 quantum leaps in power.
Visualize this scale. The destructive power of 1 kilogram of black powder.
Dot would flatten this entire stadium.
The power of the Hiroshima bomb, 15,000 tons of TNT,
would wipe out the downtown core of one of the world's largest cities.
And finally, the power of the Tsar Bomba. 50 million tons of TNT.
It would create a sea of fire, engulfing everything.
Power begins with grains of dust.
To challenge that which seemed eternal.
Then humanity found rage imprisoned in a liquid.
And learned to command it to move heaven and earth. They forged that power into a perfect tool of war, turning invisible air into a giant sledgehammer. But the universe held a greater secret.
The key to unlock the doors of creation and annihilation.
Breaking the smallest of things.
Taught to release an immeasurable power.
Humanity had created a new god in the shape of a mushroom.
But even that god was not the end. They looked to the sky
and decided to bring the power of the stars down to Earth.
For the first time,
a man-made event could be felt across the entire globe.
From mastering the flame
to mastering intercontinental destruction.
A journey of more than 1,000 years. But most of the power was unlocked in just the final 50 years. It all stemmed from understanding one simple truth. That in the smallest of things, lies the greatest of energies. This power is not good nor evil. It simply is.
The real question is not what we can create,
But what we choose to do with what we have created. The same chain reaction, the same power.
But tame to serve, instead of to destroy. The evolutionary journey of destruction is also the journey of humanity, confronting itself.
We have opened Pandora's box.
And now, we must learn to live with what was inside.